Well, hello. It's Monday, July 1st, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're going to be covering today. Some bans have been partially lifted on the sale of U.S. tech products to Huawei, but it's still really confusing. We'll explain how all of this could affect you. Then the VP of Product Management at Comcast Business will join the show to discuss their suite of products and to talk about the future of smart office technology. And to talk about an industry on the cutting edge of innovation, we'll be joined by Zohar Levi, the CEO of Cedo, to discuss their fully automated and controlled indoor cannabis growing machine. And speaking of innovation, way back in the day before you had your Spotifys, your iPods, or your compact disc players, there was the Sony Walkman, and it's celebrating its 40th anniversary today. We've got all that and much more coming up on Digital Trends Live. That's right, Chris, before you had your fancy compact disc player walking around here showing it off.
Seeing those MP3 players hit me like a truck, man. This wave of nostalgia came over.
Right? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. 40 years for the Walkman. It's been over 10 years for the iPod. All that.
It doesn't seem like that long.
No, it doesn't, but it is. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends, where we bring you the trending tech topics of the day, news, headlines, interviews, and discussions, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. Thank you for finding us, whether you're on YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch. We're on Dailymotion, Apple News. We're on 2 different apps for your phones, whether you're on an iOS device or an Android device. You can watch us on there. Also on your smart televisions. If you have a smart TV at home, download the Digital Trends app, and you can watch this show directly there. Engage with us as well. Comment. You can go to digitaltrends.com/live. Just another avenue to go to where we can take your comments. And thank you, everybody, for joining us however you find us. We always do appreciate it. We've got a lot to get to today, but first off, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Chris DeGraw. Hello, Chris.
I'm Chris. Hi.
You are here, and you are Chris.
I am.
These are 2 facts to start the show off that we've got just out of the way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I can prove it.
It's established. The internet will go to work now trying to disprove it. But let's talk about some news. So a lot that we want to get to today, and just kind of bringing you up to date on what the trending stories are. On this one, I think for a lot of us is kind of confusing on where this is going. So I want to just bring everybody up to date on what we're at right now. Now, Huawei, we all know there's been a ban on their products, a ban on U.S. companies engaging with their products, buying their products, and selling them. Our products. But there's been all these kinds of little caveats and little ways that this has kind of worked out where that's not always necessarily happening. And this is the latest, and this is coming from a report over this weekend from Donald Trump. President Donald Trump was at the G20 summit. They kind of worked some things out with China, and now we've lifted part of the ban on U.S. companies selling tech to Huawei. And I want to explain why this actually affects you and where this goes, but just to kind of get you up to date on that, Huawei is one of the biggest manufacturers of 5G equipment in the world, which that's pretty important for all of us. They're also the second biggest phone manufacturer. They're bigger than Apple. They sell more of their phones than iPhones, just not really here in the US. So that's kind of one of the differences there. But that's a huge company. I mean, that's a lot of products that they are selling, and U.S. companies kind of want to get involved in that.
I can see why.
Yeah, we want to sell some stuff to them. And so this is part of what's going on with this partial lifting of the ban. U.S. companies can now sell some of their products in certain situations to Huawei, as long as those situations don't involve any kind of security protocols. But what this means for consumers, for consumer tech, for people in the consumer technology industry, or people who are just consumers who like technology, is that this is kind of opening things back up towards more of a reciprocal relationship with China in relation to technology. So if Huawei were to be completely banned, and if that continues, where we aren't able to buy their products, when it comes to 5G, that's something that could slow down our adoption of 5G here in the US, mainly because they're the biggest manufacturers of that equipment. There's legitimate security concerns that come along with China, and with Huawei in particular, in that back doors may be opened up with their technology, in that they could potentially spy or steal data, and there's all kinds of concerns with that. But I think more dialogue is probably better for all of us. Is
Probably.
What I would think. How do you feel about this?
It all seems quite fickle, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can't decide, I can't figure out, okay, can we trust them? Can we not trust them?
Right.
If we can't trust them, why are we trusting them at all?
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It seems like maybe this was all probably planned from the start as part of a
Right.
negotiation tactic.
Yeah, it's pretty confusing on what exactly is going down and how that's all going to work out because, for us, I think we all can agree we want 5G phones, we want 5G technology. We're going to talk about some smaller
I
rollouts.
want Huawei phones.
Right, Huawei phones too. They are very good
Really
phones.
nice phones.
Yeah, and our reviews have always been very positive of them. I mean, they haven't done themselves many favors, I'll say, as a company. They certainly have been caught red-handed stealing technology from other companies and it kind of infiltrating people to steal things, and this has all been pretty well documented. So they haven't done themselves a lot of favors in garnering, a lot
Unlike
of
all
trust.
of the other very innocent phone manufacturers.
And
we
that's
have.
another good point. Yeah. I don't know how many people are really completely innocent in all of these situations. The bottom line is for all of us, like Chris said, you want access to these Huawei phones. That could also push innovation on other companies here in the U.S. We want access to the 5G technology to make sure that we're getting as quick a rollout as we can on that. And these are all things that could affect that. But this is at least a little bit of a loosening on some of the regulations. It's lifting of some of the ban of selling U.S. technology to Huawei.
I'd hate to be any of the people who have to figure out how to enact these decisions specifically.
Yeah.
Whoever is in charge of making sure that things only exchange hands when there's no quote unquote national security risk.
Right.
Doesn't I don't know.
Yeah.
Not an easy job.
It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job. That is 100% true of figuring all this out. But let us know what you think. How do you feel about this? You can drop your comments there on whatever platform that you're watching. And so thanks everybody for joining us wherever you're finding us. But that is kind of the news. We've got a little bit an article, a digital trends. Actually, we've got a lot of reporting on it that'll bring you up to date more if you want to get more involved, in depth. Definitely head over there, digitaltrends.com, and you can be up to date on what's happening when it comes to the Huawei situation. All right. Let's move on to another segment here to start the week off. Let's read some comments. Chris, this is Read 'em and Weep, as
It's a
you know.
great way to start a week.
It is. We may cry and just get it out of the way. We do read the comments. It's one of the things here at Digital Trends. We read your comments wherever you put them. And so we want to make sure that you know that by reading them directly back to you and responding here on the show. Matt, regarding this LED bumper sticker, can display images in your rear window. Most expensive emoji app you'll ever own after replacing your rear window, having pissed off every other driver on the road. Hope you learned your lesson the first time. I can kind of agree with that. Do you know what this is?
I saw this, yes.
Yes, where it's it's the LED display, and it comes customized with a little pad that you can put next to your steering wheel. So it can be smiley face or want to merge or different things that you can put on there, pre-message ones, but then you also have a custom one. The custom one, I feel like, is what he's referencing.
Is it completely custom? You can use any emoji that you want?
Supposedly, you can type in what you want, at least according to what their description was, where it's one button's like a freebie. Type in your reprogram it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, but I feel like, there could definitely be some rocks that could be thrown.
There could be.
rear windows.
Don't park on the street, maybe.
Yeah. Walking, going around the city, flashing whatever message it is that you want to give to everybody, which, I don't know how I would respond either to somebody in front of me doing that, yelling at me, I want to merge. I'll let somebody merge. But then I feel like if you're, confronting me, then, oh, God, I'm the person
But it
that they're
looks
warning
cool.
about. Yeah, it does look cool.
Maybe I just like screens, but...
Yeah, it looks cool. I don't know how I would handle
screen,
it.
but still.
But I do kind of want one. Also, I would have to invest in some extra.
And then you don't have to change your politically driven bumper stickers every...
Oh, God. Political
3
statements on those
years.
things? I wasn't even thinking in that aspect.
Yes. They would.
Oh, no. Okay, it's a terrible idea. All right, Patrick, regarding Vizio P-Series Quantum X unboxing and basic setup, big, bright, and bold. Looks like total crap. Big coloration dots and diagonal lines all over the screen is what I'm seeing. After just watching a lot of Samsung, Sony, LG videos, this one is just as I said, total crap. I like how he started it and bookended it.
He did,
Total crap to make
His
sure.
English teacher would be proud of that.
Right, yeah. I mean,
It's a
made
nice
sure.
arc.
An arc, yep. Brought it back at the end.
Yeah.
Really hammer home that point. That total crap is what he thought. Well, I mean, I will say, it's the unboxing of it. And looking here at Patrick's, I'm taking a look at the comments. So big coloration dots, diagonal lanes all over the screen. Are you sure that wasn't just on your screen
I was
that you were
going to
watching
say
on?
the same thing.
Because, I mean, you can't really tell what... I mean, that's like looking at a YouTube video 8K looks like it sucks.
It's like,
doesn't look
remember
that
when
clear
you
at
used
all.
to take video cameras of screens and they would have that stuff going down?
Yes.
When you had the TV on accident in frame?
Yeah.
Maybe you're just, screen through a screen, not to be trusted.
Yeah, it's possible, Patrick. I'm not
I have to see
entirely
more
sure.
comments to believe his theory.
I want to know if Total Crap is his standard thing that he goes to for all of his reviews, or whether he's got some some variety in there.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. That's probably it. Well, Patrick, thank you for your comment. Again, we do reply to them, so whatever you leave on there, just know we're reading them all the time. Brett, regarding Boeing 737 MAX planes face extended grounding over new flaw. Just install parachute ejector seats and call it a day. Yeah, that's been a real crazy story with the 737 MAX. From what I understand, there's now more issues that are happening that could delay them. I mean, there's more stuff coming out every day, and I'm certainly not an expert, but I think I kind of agree with you on that. Although ejector seats, I feel like that could get abused. You have the power to just eject.
Just hit it and goes, boing.
Right.
Get it? Boing. Monday.
So anyway, that was solid. No, I feel like if I were in there, like, and there's, a bunch of screaming children behind me, and I've had like a rough day or something,
you're like,
I just feel like,
what?
That's it. I'm out.
I've been waiting for this.
Yeah. So I might be the one abusing that. All right, now I'm in Nebraska. Logan, regarding this giant air cannon can knock over boxes from 60 meters away. Senior prank idea: decimate your principal with an air cannon when they walk out of the office on the last day of school.
Which is even more practical, probably, than knocking over boxes. Is that the use of this?
I'm gonna guess not. I haven't actually seen this one.
Me neither.
Particular, but yeah, I would say it's knocking over principals. Obviously, that's what
it's
you're going for.
way more funny.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're, boy, how would you hide yourself though? I feel like you'd still get in trouble. There's got to be a way that you could, have this hidden in the bushes and then
what's that
boom
movie where you like whip it around the corner and it shoots?
Oh yeah.
Make a mod of that.
Okay. Yep. We got to figure it out. So we need some more work on that. Logan, thank you very much for your comment here for Read 'em and Weep on Digital Trends Live. Rosemary, regarding Grubs Up, lab-grown insect meat could be the future of food. Not even one little chance in hell. If God intended for me to eat grubs, he would have given me a beak and feathers and I'd be laying eggs every morning. Rosemary, I appreciate that rant. That is a solid anti-bug rant that you've got going there. I'll say this, I actually, seriously, over this last weekend, I ate a cricket cupcake.
Did you?
I did.
How was it?
It was made with cricket flour. It was good. You just block it out of your mind, pretend, there's not like 1,000 tiny little legs.
Okay, but it was like cricket flour.
No.
You don't
flour.
You don't have to crunch the...
No, I didn't have to crunch anything.
Okay.
No, you ignore it. Like, if I don't have to know what it is, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's one of those, but why type of, situations.
Yeah, there's a big article coming out. Well, I mean, there's all kinds of environmental reasons and all of, that side of it. But, the thinking of crunchy bug legs is not something that I really want to ever envision. Now I can't eat the cupcake anymore. Now that I just thought about that.
Dang.
Well, anyway, we've got an article coming out about that. You can check that out, digitaltrends.com, talking about lab-grown food and where that's going to happen. Actually, I believe Luke Dormel is going to join us to talk about that at some point this week, either tomorrow or Wednesday. All right, continuing on with some news, some topics here for you to bring you up to date on what's going on in the world of technology. This is something that's happening in the European Union right now, but is also going to be coming to the United States, and it has to do with electric cars. Where there's more and more electric cars, it seems like every company is trying to come up with their own, if they haven't already. And one common denominator in there is the fact that they aren't very loud. One of the appealing things when you buy them is that, they're so quiet when you're going down the road. But the problem is that's also really dangerous for everybody else. Mm-hmm. Pedestrians, bike riders, you cannot hear these things coming. Even just today, I was in our walking through a parking garage this morning, and I could not hear this. This guy was just tearing up the up through a parking garage, but I could not hear him at all.
Wow.
And just because it's so silent. So this is what the European Union is doing. And it starts today. Their regulation is that all future electric vehicles must have some kind of a noise emission process on there, a noise emitter. And if they get up to speeds of over 12.4 miles per hour, 20 kilometers per hour, they're required to have noise that also corresponds with how fast they're going. So the faster they go, the more the noise has to change in relation to that. How do you feel about this?
I think that's a perfectly logical idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of people who are, maybe they can't see as well, they're relying on hearing. There's a lot of issues there that I think are pretty important when it comes to that. I do want to know what our commenters think, what people who are watching live. Like, is that something that you feel okay with? Or is that, no, I don't really want to bother with that. I want to have my electric vehicle as it is. I like it being quiet. A couple of side notes on that is they're saying that it has to be so it's the EU's Acoustic Vehicle Alerting System law. That's the name of the law. It will need to emit a sound of at least 56 decibels that rises and falls according to whether the vehicle is accelerating or decelerating. And the standard noise of what they're saying for a regular combustion engine is about 75 decibels. So they're saying this sound would be like an air conditioner or a refrigerator working hard. So it's not extremely loud.
Yeah, no. It's
but enough
still
to
a lot quieter.
Yeah.
I don't trust every driver or even most of them. So if I'm on the sidewalk, I want to know if there's a car near me in case it decides to come on the sidewalk where I am.
Right? Yeah.
Just, and it's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need a silent car. You're not a ninja.
This is true. Like, I wanted to have noise. I think part of the dialogue associated with, though, is they didn't really specify what kind of noise you could have. So we talked about the customization of the back window displays for the LED display. What about customized noises that would go along with your car?
It's a lot of potential.
A
lot of potential.
Chris, what would your customized noise be?
I've got 2 ideas.
Okay.
So
all right,
one
let's lay 'em out.
is just like screaming. Just like right. Okay. Like I'm gonna go really fast just so that it scares everybody around me.
Yeah.
The other one is
It's a constant
like
scream that gets louder and louder. Ah! Yeah. Okay.
the
All
other
right.
one is like a New York cabbie. So when it just as you're going by, like, get out of the road, you dang idiot, like,
Just
that
makes
sort of
no
deal.
sense. Yeah, the higher it goes. All right. Yeah, I like that idea.
You're walking here.
I'm walking here. Yeah, there's got to be one of those. I think that's solid. I think just like an old-fashioned, like,
Yeah,
like
the old
somebody like-
jalopy.
Yeah, like jalopy, but actually like a human voice making
yeah,
it sound
yeah,
like.
Specifically, like a really famous, funny person doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. Like a Jim Carrey version.
Yeah.
Steven says, see, this is why we might not be the best people for this. Steven
Love
says,
this.
wow, we make so many advances and yet we're stuck with the trapping of a noisy gas engine, just more noise for the environment. But not if you make it funny.
And it's
If
the same
funny
thing as
noise.
vacuum cleaners do this too. Like, they don't need to be loud, but they
That's a
are
good
loud
point.
anyway. And
Why are they so
people
loud?
buy them when they're loud and they don't buy them when they're quiet.
Yeah.
We're dumb, so we need things like this. As consumers, we're real dumb.
I like how efficient this car is, but how loud is it?
Yeah. I thought there were already cars that were like fake loud.
That were fake loud. Yeah, there are some that have that on there.
Okay. It was just by choice before, now it's by law.
Exactly. So for the EU, it's by law, and there's going to be a similar law coming into effect in 2020 for the US. So it's going to be rolling out over here too. It might not be exactly like that, but I like this idea of customizing the noises, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on board. I'm on board with that. Well, that's part of the news that we have there. Continuing on here as we go through our news today. Bringing you up to date on some of the trending topics, and that one I think we'll get a lot of comments on from before. This is something to do with your streaming television services. As we all know, everybody's launching their own streaming television service, and that does include Apple. Lest you forget, Apple TV Plus is coming sometime. They didn't really tell us when. They say this year is what they're promising. But there was an interview over this last weekend with the Senior Vice President of Internet Software and Services for Apple, Eddie Q, in the Sunday Times. And he talked about, with the service coming out, how they're going to position themselves in this crowded streaming television market. I mean, you have already you have Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, of course. You've got CBS All Access, NBC Universal. You've got Warner News Media. You've got Disney Plus, which is going to be coming out, which is going to be huge. Disney Plus is going to be a major player. And so how does Apple TV Plus fall in with all of these different services? Well, here's what they said. They're going to emphasize quality over quantity. That is pretty much exactly what they said. They think that they're not going to be, he even said they're not going to be creating the most original content, but they want to create the best original content.
Very Apple statement.
Very Apple statement. That could not be more Apple.
Yeah.
And I do want to know, for everybody watching, if you're a fan of Apple products, is this you're already in? We don't know how the subscription service is going to work. We don't know whether, if you have an Apple device, you're going to get it for free. I doubt that. Whether or not you're going to be able to, how you subscribe. We don't know a lot. There's a lot of unknowns with Apple TV Plus. And that's, I think, part of the problem. They really need to get out ahead of this. With Disney Plus coming out in November for $6.99, I don't see how they can compete against that directly. I mean, there's just no way.
Well, it's only going
Unless
to
I'm
be
wrong.
$6.99 for 6 months or a year, and then it's
Right.
going to go right up to 12 and then 15, like
Oh, yeah.
everything else.
Yeah, it'll go way up. Yeah, Disney Plus will definitely go way up. But to start off with, if you're going to be launching at about that same time, I mean that's some tough competition.
It is, yeah.
What they did say is that their services that they're going to rely on, so they're going for like Oscars. They want some big awards for their content, and they've partnered with a lot of very famous people. The show that they said is probably going to launch first is going to be this one Morning News, which is with Jennifer Aniston, or the morning show, but it's about a morning news crew. It's about Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, and it's behind the scenes of the nitty gritty, back behind the scenes of what happens at a news station, kind of like what happens here before DT Live. A lot of drama. A lot of heavy meetings, a lot of tables being thrown. I mean, I can't tell you how many times this table's been rebuilt because of the drama here at this.
We actually had
studio.
a pilot, and then we had an Apple guy come in for an interview. He took it, and
Yeah.
this is just their version of it.
I heard it's based on DT Live, but that's the one. That's the show that they're going to be banking on. Is that one to start off with? They're thinking that this is going to be a heavy hitter enough that people are going to come over to their service, despite the fact that they don't have all of the quantity. Now, Netflix, clearly, they go on quantity. They've got something of everything, at least right now, until The Office goes away. But The Office is going away, just in case anybody didn't know. But yeah, so that's kind of their angle on it. What would it take for you to subscribe to Apple TV Plus?
Oh man, I don't know.
Is there anything?
I feel the same about Disney. It's not like I feel any different. We're living in like my nightmare right now. Like we got away from this, and now we're going back to this. And I just think what would be really great is if like maybe as just some goof, like Kim.com got back in the news and made a streaming service, or like Pirate Bay made a streaming service or something like that, and you didn't have to pay anything, and it was everybody else's shows.
Oh wow! So you just want to go full on?
It'd be really funny, and also it would make a point that this is too far.
So you want like a Napster of streaming services to come in here and just be like, yeah, here's all your services. Okay.
Kind of.
All right. Okay. So you're advocating for the
Without all
rebellion.
the useless, frivolous lawsuits.
Yes, minus all that side of things. Well, you know what? Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that did show up. Although I feel like the sharing of passwords kind of eases that along a little bit. I mean, not that I'm advocating that at all.
Somebody's got to pay, though.
No, I'm not advocating that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying, some people do it. We're just reporting on that.
Right.
Anyway, so that's just some of the aspects of it. But talking about this, with Apple TV Plus, that's what they're banking on. So you can read more about that at Digital Trends and let us know what you think about their upcoming service. Final thing we want to get here for the news before we break for an interview is Samsung. It's a phone rumor. Figured I had to bring it up. It has to do with a foldable phone, but not the much maligned Galaxy Fold, which has not ever materialized actually yet. We still don't know when that's going to show up, but this is something else. They did say that they're working on several different designs for foldable phones, for foldable screen technology, and this is one that kind of looks a lot like what the Motorola Razr used to look like and might look like in the future. And it's a clamshell style, is what they're saying, where it just folds down to a much smaller phone. Personally, I like this idea.
More than the opening the other way type deal?
Yep. Because the other way, it's still bulky in my pocket, and if I really want that much screen, I'll probably be on a laptop anyway or a tablet.
Fair.
This can tuck down so much smaller. It's also easier for me to lose. But beside that point, I like this idea of like a clamshell folding phone that you can put into your pocket. I like that.
A lot of buzz and not a lot of phones.
True, very true. This is, again, just a rumor coming out that they're saying, though, that it could be even by next year, early next year, that this could happen. A 6.7-inch OLED display with that clamshell folding style. If you watch the latest season of Black Mirror, this isn't the point of one of the episodes, but there's a guy in one of the episodes that they constantly show him with his phone, and he's got exactly this style.
Yeah.
I'm like, that looks pretty cool. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I know. I was watching it, I'm like, well, that's a foldable phone I could get behind. But yeah. That's what we're hearing. That Samsung may be coming up with this.
There was like a GIF that people kept showing on Twitter. I don't think it was from Samsung though, because how could there have been like photographic evidence of this thing yet?
Well, there was one in a commercial where they showed it like for the future, where it wasn't a real.
There was one on it looked like when you go to the launches and they're like on a fixture.
Oh.
I don't know what that was.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
It
We'll
was
have to see if we can get behind
probably
that.
just a really good fake.
Probably, but nonetheless, these are the rumors that we're hearing. Is that Samsung may have a clamshell foldable
not?
foam.
Do it.
Yeah, let us know what you think. All right, I know we need to get to a break first, though. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yes. Always fun here at Digital Trends Live, and we have lots coming up to talk about today. So we're going to take a break in just a little bit. We're going to have Julian Chikatu on from our New York studio to talk about his experience with T-Mobile's 5G connection. He went and tried it out. He's going to tell us whether it was how it worked, how it's different than some of the other services that are out there. You know, it's still very, very extremely isolated locations for 5G, but he's been trying them, and he's been flying all over the country, so we'll let him know what those are like, or he'll tell us what those are like. Coming up next, though, we're going to have Christian Nascimento from Comcast Business, the Vice President of Product Management, to talk about the future of smart office technology. I think no matter where you work, if you're in an office of any kind, you've certainly seen some new technological advancements going on in that. We're going to talk about where that could be going, what some of the uses are, all that and more. Drop in your comments, your questions. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. Again, we're live here every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions, all broadcasting live. So thanks for joining us. Drop in your comments and questions. And certainly, we'd like to talk about the cutting edge of technology or the way tech is changing our lives. And certainly, the office is one of those situations where we've seen technology change how we do our jobs. We're going to talk about some of that and more right now. We're joined by Christian Nascimento, the VP of Product Development for Comcast Business. Hello.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Excited to talk about this. Wanted to maybe just to give everybody kind of a background. Maybe we can talk about how you got into this and some of your history rolling up to now and then being the head here at Comcast Business.
Yeah, absolutely. So Comcast Business is the business unit within Comcast Corporation that's responsible for providing connectivity and other business-related services to SMBs, mid-market customers, and enterprise customers. So we service businesses of all shapes and sizes all across our footprint in the continental United States. I've been with the company about 13 years now. I've been through several product launches here in business services. And so right now I'm responsible for developing and deploying products that are going to help businesses really perform.
Well, talking about those products in particular, I mean, clearly the market changes. Like the advancement of products is just crazy. You know, from year to year, you know, what we have available to us, what these tools are, and what they can be utilized for. Can you talk a little bit about what Comcast has right now and what some of the different maybe like real world applications of smart office technology that you have?
Absolutely. So we're really probably most well known for our connectivity products. We big ISP, provide internet to, like I said, businesses of all shapes and sizes. We're also a really large voice and communications provider. And then our core historical product has been our video, our television product. So we provide all those products to businesses every day. And then beyond that, in Comcast Business, we have a number of products that are specifically tailored to businesses. So we have advanced Wi-Fi that provides not just connectivity, but analytics. We also have commercial grade video monitoring. So business can see what's happening in their business, you know, from anywhere. It's all streamed to the cloud. LTE, 4G backup, advanced networking, SD-WAN. So just a lot of applications that really help a business with their technology needs.
Going back to what you said there with connectivity, that is such a big part, I feel like, going forward, no matter what the industry is, but particularly for the office, connectivity of all our devices and how we gather data and just the analytics that's associated with all that connectivity. So with that, just to kind of give a broader picture, how do you feel like AI and like the Internet of Things has changed the way business is being done right now? And maybe where do you see it going in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those things have been game changers, right? If you think about AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, those help the devices in a business, start to not only operate differently, but provide a lot of context and a lot of business intelligence back to the business owner, back to the employer. And then the Internet of Things has really just exploded. You can't find hardly anything that's not connected to the internet now. And so that's what makes connectivity, it's what makes Wi-Fi so important, is because you have this network of devices that are all connected. They're all giving businesses a greater ability to control what's happening in their business, but it's also giving them further visibility into their business. So they can start to understand what devices are being used, start to understand who's coming into their business, when they're coming in, how they're interacting. So it's really been a huge boon for businesses in the way that they're able to anticipate trends, anticipate what their customers need, what their guests need, what their employees need, and then how to make actionable decisions based on that information.
There's so much information that they can utilize, and there's there's so many different myriad variables that you can put in there as far as how it's going to be utilized. Talking about, you mentioned small businesses on that side of things. There's a lot of small businesses out there that maybe want to upgrade but don't know where to go first, what to do. What kind of recommendations would you have for small businesses wanting to upgrade their technology?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Small businesses especially are what we call a generational moment. Especially if a business has been in operation for a number of years, they've probably got, last generation equipment, whether that's their POS terminal or their security cameras or even their phone system. The first thing I would recommend is they need to take a look at their connectivity, right? Broadband is so key. Broadband's kind of the central nervous system to a business these days. And you still have businesses out there of all sizes using, DSL and T1s. We can provide gigabit speed internet to any business, whether it's a Fortune 1000 business or a mom and pop barbershop. We can provide a gig speed to any business in our footprint, and that's transformational because then you have the ability to hang multiple applications, multiple devices, multiple services off of that network. So that would be the foundational place to start when upgrading your business. Make sure you have the right type of connectivity, and then from there, Wi-Fi is obviously key. And then whatever devices and whatever services are germane to that specific business.
Talking about the Wi-Fi side of things on connectivity, I know there's been some changes just in recent years, and I know there's some more things rolling out in association with Wi-Fi standards and protocols. Can you give us just a little bit of insight on where we're at and what's actually changing with that?
Yeah, Wi-Fi is critical, right? I mean, when's the last time you went to a business and didn't have Wi-Fi connectivity? It's so key to everything that a business does today. And so what you're seeing now is you're seeing Wi-Fi become just better, right? Faster, more connected. You have the different specifications like Wi-Fi 6 that are coming, which means that the devices that come into a business are going to have the capacity to connect faster and connect better, and they're going to have longer battery life. So you're going to be able to do more with the specific device that's Wi-Fi 6 enabled. And if a business has the right type of Wi-Fi, they're able to go and connect more devices, provide that great connectivity experience. And we know that today, people use Wi-Fi for everything. So you connect your devices, and that's how you do your work. Your guests come in and connect. If you're a service-based business, you may have a streaming video or a streaming music type of package. All of these things are items that are connected via Wi-Fi, and so you need to have that strong Wi-Fi connection available to meet all these needs. And then I think the other change is coming is how we use Wi-Fi. More and more, we're able to use Wi-Fi as a service, as an analytics engine. You're able to get more insights from Wi-Fi just because so many devices have Wi-Fi enabled and so many people are coming in with Wi-Fi turned on. They're able to talk to the access point in a business and start to understand trends. How many people came into the business today? How many of them were connected to Wi-Fi? How long did they stay? It's really a rich set of insights that a business can gain from just having Wi-Fi enabled.
Wow, yeah, I mean, that data alone, like you said, I can extrapolate from that and figure out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. Absolutely, very valuable information. Well, Christian, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, too. For people who want to get involved or want to find out more about it, what's the best website to go to?
Best website is www.business.comcast.com. We have all of our products and suites, whether it's video surveillance, connectivity, TV, phone, everything's available on there. You can get more information on our products and a channel to help you get those services that you need.
Well, Christian Nascimento, VP of Product Management for Comcast Business, thank you so much for joining us here today to talk about all of this.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so for everybody tuning in live, thank you for joining us as well. And this is fun. So we get to learn about different ways that that technology is being applied to different aspects of your life, including if you're a small business owner. There's some very interesting details on there as far as what kind of data you can gather and what you can do with that even. All right, we have lots to cover today, though. We're still broadcasting live. Lots to go over. Up next, Julian Chukatu is going to join us from our New York studio to talk about 5G. In particular, he tried out T-Mobile's 5G in New York. We're going to find out his thoughts on it, whether it's something that he thinks is working, whether it's not, compared to the other ones. We're going to get all of his expert opinions right here in just a minute when we come back with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live, broadcasting live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, on a number of different platforms. And I want to emphasize as well, we are at digitaltrends.com/live. You can join us in the chat right there, among the many other places that we are at. And let's talk about cutting edge technology right now. There's somebody on our staff, our mobile editor, Julian Chukatu, has been flying all around the country to test out all of these different 5G nodes that are popping up, including T-Mobile's right in New York. And let's talk about that right now. Hello, Julian. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So talking about T-Mobile in particular, you tested this out. You went out and gave it a shot on their 5G network. Can we get just a little bit of a basic understanding when it comes to spectrums? And I feel like a lot of people aren't really clear on the differences between those and maybe some of the differences and what T-Mobile is actually using.
Sure. So there's different types of spectrum that's being used for 5G. The common three are there's low band, mid band, and then high band. High band is what I've seen in Chicago the 2 times I've gone there, and that's what Verizon and AT&T are using. High band is also known as millimeter wave, basically high frequency, so the benefit is you're getting super fast speeds, super low latency. The downside is that you're getting much shorter range, like a block and a half, and also poor building penetration. That's something they'll just have to fix and amend as the networks start to build out and get larger. Then there's mid-band, which is what I saw with Sprint in Dallas, and that's basically a larger range, so you can definitely service a larger community, but you're not getting as fast speeds as high band or millimeter wave, but it's still definitely faster than LTE. And then there's low band, which is what T-Mobile's game plan is for the long run, and that's basically the largest range of all the three, so it can definitely service a lot larger of an area, but the downside is it's just not as fast as what you might think of 5G speeds as gigabit, for example. But it's still definitely faster than 4G LTE, so that's the positive there. But T-Mobile isn't just focusing on low band, they're also implementing some high band as well in dense urban areas. So which is why the 5G networks that it just launched is the first 5G networks on the carrier, and they launched 6 cities, and that's using high band. So these are actual millimeter wave pockets in these select cities. So I was able to take the Galaxy S10 5G, which is just about the only phone on T-Mobile's network you can use to access this 5G network, and walk around New York and just see what that's like. And initially, you know, the results were similar to my first experience going to Chicago to test the Moto Z3 with the 5G Moto mod. Basically, I saw speeds hovering around 400 megabits per second, which is, you know, pretty good, but it's not nearly as impressive as something like going to Chicago with the Galaxy S10 a month later to see that it had evolved to a gigabit 0.2, something like that speeds, download speeds. So definitely still there's some room to grow, and, you know, this is just the launch day. Over the months, it's going to improve, and you're going to get much faster speeds. I did some download tests, and I was able to download PUBG, the mobile game, in about a minute and 20 seconds or so on the Galaxy S10 5G on T-Mobile's network, whereas it took sometimes 3 minutes on LTE. But again, comparing that to Verizon's millimeter wave in Chicago, that took 25 seconds on the Galaxy S10 5G on Verizon, and about a minute and 30 seconds on Verizon's LTE in Chicago. So yes, definitely there's going to be some room to grow for T-Mobile, but it's a pretty promising first start so far.
So talking about T-Mobile's plan for coverage, you mentioned it sounds like they're using kind of like a mesh network, a little bit of high band and low band, maybe to try to get that wider coverage. They've got 6 spots, I think is what you said right now, and then where are they going from there? Like, what are the next steps for T-Mobile?
Okay, so there's 6 cities right now with 5G millimeter wave on T-Mobile's network, but their game plan is to launch like a true 5G launch at the end of the year, which is going to be using that low band spectrum, 600 megahertz, and that's basically going to try and cover as much area. So their game plan is to bring 5G for the masses rather than having these dense pockets that only service a small area. So basically, by the end of the year, with the low band, you know, covering a wider area, and having this complementary areas in places like New York City where you can access much faster speeds, that's their game plan to sort of cover all of America with 5G, but it all hinges on the T-Mobile and Sprint merger, because what they want to do is use that merger to get Sprint's mid-band, so that way they'll have low band, they'll have mid-band, and high band. So they'll have all 3 different types of spectrum in play and be able to get the most robust 5G network in a short amount of time, but also at a lower investment cost than it would take for them to individually go out and do all these networks by themselves.
So when this does actually come out, do we have any idea what kind of pricing we're going to be talking about, or how that's going to work for the actual consumer?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, you can go out and get a Galaxy S10 5G on T-Mobile's network and go ahead and, if you're in one of those 6 cities, access those 5G speeds. Just remember, it's small pockets of those speeds, those cities at the moment. And also the Galaxy S10 5G costs $1,300. Definitely don't recommend spending that much money unless, I don't know, you just have the money to blow. But they are not charging you anymore to access 5G on T-Mobile's network. So if you have the base $70 unlimited plan from the carrier, you're good to go. If you're in those select cities and you have the supported phone, you can access 5G. That's different from what Verizon is doing. Verizon is charging you an extra $10 on top of its own unlimited plans, so you basically have to pay even more on a monthly basis. But thankfully, T-Mobile's not doing that, and we don't really know how long that's going to last. They might add more charges on a monthly basis if they're building out the network and they're realizing, hey, we need to actually start charging people more. We don't know how long that'll happen, or when that'll happen, or if that'll happen, but the good thing for now is that you don't have to pay more to use 5G. Just the phone's going to cost you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, on the phone side, because you mentioned it's Verizon's S10 5G, that's really the only one that's out there right now. What's the next phone that's planned to come out that's going to be 5G capable?
It's going to depend. so far there's like about 3 phones that you can get. There's the LG V50 ThinQ, there's the Galaxy S10 5G, and then there's the Moto Z3, Moto Z4 with the 5G Moto mod. But 2 of those are basically restricted to certain carriers, Sprint and Verizon, whereas the S10 5G is the only phone on T-Mobile's network that you can get at the moment. I think the next major phone in the U.S. that we're going to see supporting 5G is probably the Galaxy Note 10, which is supposed to launch sometime in August. So that is probably the phone we're going to see on all 4 carriers launching, especially AT&T as well. It's just obviously not guaranteed, so not 100% set in stone yet.
Well, it's your review's up there at Digital Trends right now. You're talking about this, or it's going to be there shortly. But talking about just 5G for you next, because you've gone all over the place to try these out. Do you know where you're going next, or can you say?
I don't know. I kind of just want to try AT&T's network though, because right now they have deployed their service in select cities, but it's limited to business customers, which kind of sucks. So right now I know what to experience with Sprint, I know what to experience with T-Mobile, and I know what to experience with Verizon. It's just I'm holding out on AT&T, which sucks because I actually am an AT&T subscriber. So I would love to be able to walk around in New York and access 5G speeds on just like a day-to-day basis. So. Can't wait for AT&T to finally get their stuff together and have a 5G network for consumers rather than just business customers.
Well, there it is. I'm sure you will be the first one to get access when it does happen. So at least there's that. And Julian's articles, everything is up at Digital Trends. Julian, once again, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
All right, Julian Chikatu, mobile editor here for Digital Trends, talking about 5G, where we're at, where the plan is, and what's going on with it. So a lot to cover on there. I know we need to get going, though, because just like every day here at Digital Trends Live, we have so much to cover. We have so much to bring you. Love broadcasting live. Love seeing some of the comments come through just about 5G and where we're at and whether you're excited or not excited and what you think about that. It's coming up next. This is something that's at the cutting edge of technology and would be unfathomable to be talking about, say, 10 years ago. Now, we are going to be talking about it. So we've got the CEO of Cedo Corp, Zohar Levi, who's going to be joining us, Zohar Levy, and he's going to be talking about the world's first fully automated and controlled indoor cannabis growing machine. Just going to leave it at that. Here he is. He's going to be coming up here in just a minute, taking a quick break. Back with more Digital Trends Live right after this. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for finding us. Join us every single day to bring you up to date on tech headlines and news and interviews and discussions. And we're going to be talking about some cutting edge technology right now, in particular with the agricultural industry, how we've seen a lot of tech advancements affect that. And this is something that I would say maybe 10 years ago we probably wouldn't necessarily be talking about right now, but because of the changes in the world, we can now talk about that, and that is a really innovative product. So we've got joining us the CEO of Cedo Corp. We have Zohar Levy to talk about your product. Hello, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you to invite me.
Yes, and I see it there behind you right now. I'm so excited to talk about this and just what kind of different things that you're completing with this product. But let's talk about just kind of the background, how you got into this industry, and a little bit of your background leading up to this product in particular.
Okay, so I came across to this technology with my partners. One of them is the agronomist of the company, and the other one is technologist. And they start to innovate this technology since 1999 to grow vegetables and herbs in containers with no climate effects and pesticides free. That can give a solution for restaurants and hotels for fresh and organic vegetables.
Okay, so dealing with that, fresh and organic vegetables for restaurants and that people can kind of handle on their own. Looking where you've come to now and with this product in particular, can you tell us what that is behind you and what it is that you come up with? And then we'll go into some of the more details just about agricultural tech in general.
Okay, so behind me, this is the Seedo home cultivator. The Seedo can give you the great solution to grow cannabis, vegetables, herbs with no any human intervention, any knowledge or know-how how to grow. This technology is managed by an AI algorithm with an analyzed photo and learning machine. So the customer just need to download the app, make a pairing between the app and the machine, choose what kind of strain you want to grow, put the seed in the machine, and from this point, the algorithm manage all the process for the customer. You don't need to be too close to the machine. You don't need to know any parameters of the growing or how the protocol should be. You just can look in the app and see a live stream how is plant growing.
That sounds like something that's designed just for me because I'm terrible at growing anything. I've killed a number of plants, so this would be right up my alley for whatever it is that somebody is growing. So you said that it can specify. So you just specify what it is that you're going to be putting in there, like what specific kind of seed or plant. Is there a number of them that you can use or that you purchase from you? Like how does that? Sorry, that's a lot of questions, but how does that user experience go?
So you can grow from strain, from seed, or from clones.
Okay.
It depends what you prefer. If you will start with clones, so you the time of growing will be shorter, and but there is no problem to grow from seed until to the harvest. All the process working autonomically. Inside the machine, there is a camera. Let's make a snapshot every few hours to the plants. The algorithm knows to analyze what is the condition of the plants and giving the right parameters for every 4 hours. So you don't need to be close to the machine. You don't need to open the door. You just getting alerts in your app what's going on with your plant.
For the cannabis industry in general and just how rapidly it's growing, at least here in the United States, for sure, and I imagine worldwide, how is this kind of product affecting it, and why is this kind of product necessary for the cannabis industry currently?
First of all, Seedo machine give you the freedom, okay? You don't need to go to dispensary, waiting in the line, and you buy something that you don't know what you get. They tell you you get a high-level THC, high-level CBD. You never know what you get. So in Seedo, you just order from a seed banks, high-quality seed, put it in the machine, and you know that you will get the best quality because it's a closed-loop system. No bacteria, molds, or viruses can get inside to the machine. It's a closed-loop system with a CO2 and the carbon filters that's avoid from smell and from any kind of diseases that's coming in the air from outside. So by this way, you can be sure that you're getting the best product at your home without getting out from your home.
Yeah, the fact that it's completely sealed and enclosed is pretty amazing. Talking about the technology behind this, and how have you seen, or how is artificial intelligence affecting the cannabis industry and robotics in general as well? Like, how is it changing the way the cannabis industry operates?
Okay, so the algorithm give us the advantage that it's the public wisdom. It means any grower that's used Seedo machine in the world, all the data go to our clouds. The algorithm is a learning machine, so he's learn all the parameters and improve himself all the time. And the growers become more and more accurate. That's mean if you, let's say, you buy CEDO containers for farms, for commercial scales. So inside the containers, I mentioned also in the small unit, there is a cameras that scan the plants every few hours, and the algorithm know to analyze it and see what is the condition of the plant. So we don't give the plant option to have a failure, because every 4 hours it got examined, and we know exactly what is the condition of the plant. And the advantage is for the medical cannabis industry in the world that they are looking for solution for quality and quantity that you can depend on it all over the year with no climate effects, with no chemicals, with saving almost, in our technology, we're saving almost 90% in consumption of water. We have a low labor cost because we're using also the robotics. So we're also avoiding human faults. That means if your workers didn't work by the regulation and he didn't wash his hand before he get in, and he get some viruses on his hand and he touched the plant, then he can kill all your crops on the same cycle. So we can give a full turnkey project to the customer with no knowledge and know-how. And it's never mind where we grow it. If you will grow it in Nevada or in Alaska, and you will grow the same strain, you will get the same results. And the most important is uniform yield. Today in the market, the technologies that's existing in the market can create approximately 35% uniform yield. We can generate approximately 70% uniform yield for now. And we believe that in 1.5 years to 2 years from now, we will reach very high percentage of uniform yield.
Wow, that's a pretty incredible use of technology to do that. Do you see this expanding beyond the cannabis industry, or are you focused on scaling this right now for cannabis agriculture in particular?
No, CEDO focused on 2 sectors. One is the vegetables and herbs, and the other one is the medical cannabis. On the vegetables and herbs, we are launching in for urban farming. That means we can, in an industrial zone that's close to the center of the city, establish organic farm that can create commercial scales of vegetables and herbs, fresh, free of pesticizing, and no seasonality, all over the year, ongoing, day by day, fresh. Just to give you an estimation, in one container 40 feet, we can grow, let's say, head of lettuce, 360 head of lettuce per day.
Wow.
So in 1,000 square meter, we can put in one floor 16 containers. It's vertical farming, so we go up to 5 floors. That means in 1,000 square meter, we can put 80 containers that produce every month 860,000 head of lettuce per month. So it's really a commercial scale that you can supply day by day to the supermarkets, to stores in a radius of 50 kilometers around you, and with low cost, because we reduce the logistics, we reduce the labor cost, we don't use chemicals, we reduce the consumption of water, so we can give a great solution.
Well, that's pretty incredible, and congratulations on where you're at right now. For those people who are watching that want to pick up, in particular, the product right behind you, where can they get it, and maybe what's the pricing on that?
They can take it very soon, because we are launching out now with a sale for the Independence Day, so they will get a great discount of $444. So you are invited to order on our website.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Zohar. Very interesting subject and discussion about where robotics and AI is going when it comes to agriculture and what you've created right there. Thanks for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
All right, real interesting use of technology, where that's heading, what's going on with that. We've got more interesting discussions coming up, though. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back. I'll bring you up to date on some anniversaries, actually. There's some tech anniversaries that I feel like everybody should know. Then we'll be joined by Sabrina Phillip, and we're going to talk about her amazing career and what's going on with that, and how you can maybe make some more money. All that and more while we're broadcasting live. Drop in your questions, your comments. Let us know. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello there. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. It is Monday, July 1st, 2019, and we need to bring you up to date on a number of different things that are going on. But mainly, right now, I want to bring you up to date on some stories that I've been following that I think you will find interesting as well. Because today's an anniversary. It is the 40th anniversary of one of those tech products that kind of changed the landscape for so many different industries all at the same time. And it is the Sony Walkman. It's the 40th anniversary of the Sony Walkman, the cassette playing version, right there that we're taking a look at. Now, this is a video that Sony put out, kind of showcasing some of the evolution of this. Now, I don't know how many people watching actually ever owned a Walkman or not, but I will say that it was something that really did change the way we listen to music. This is at the forefront of everything. You can see some of the evolution there as you go through the Discman era, and then going up to some of the other strange versions that they actually had of the Walkman series, where, yeah, a little MIDI player, you had a little memory stick player, all, of course, leading up to when the iPod kind of took over the industry. But this was on July 1st, 1979, when Sony launched the blue and silver Walkman, the TPS L2 in Japan, sold for about 33,000 yen. So it first launched in Japan, July 1st, 1979, when this product came out. That's roughly about $150 in US dollars at the time. So not a cheap product, but not really expensive either. Still somewhat something that people could get. And you look at it, it came out. There were a lot of skeptics about the device who said that, no, it's too expensive for what it is. It didn't record, so you couldn't record anything on it, so maybe people wouldn't want it. And the thing is, it actually sold huge. So they sold 50,000 devices in the first 2 months. And that was, again, just in Japan, bringing it out there. And then they brought it over to the US about a year later. So it came over to the US in 1980. But in early 1979, the Sony chairman at the time, Akio Morita, said he got together a whole bunch of young engineers, planners, and publicity people to talk about coming up with a prototype to where people could listen to music on the go. In his words, he said, "This is the product that will satisfy those young people who want to listen to music all day. They'll take it everywhere with them, and if we put a playback-only headphone stereo like this in the market, it'll be a hit." And he was certainly right. So you look at the Walkman going from 40 years ago with this. And this is why I think this is important now, to just acknowledge some of these products that come out, you never know how it's going to change the way we interact with the world, how it's going to change consumer technology, how it's going to change electronics. And this is one of those products that really changed so much. I mean, it was at the forefront of the 1980s when it came to music. You come on that with MTV. It changed the music industry. It changed how we can consume it, how we could get access to more music, and how people could listen individually. Otherwise, you were kind of stuck with the radio or record player before that. And record player is certainly not very portable. So the Walkman made it so you could bring this with you everywhere. Now, like I said, it changed things for a lot of reasons. The Walkman still sold well. Going into the Discman era with compact discs, a portable disc player, did really great with that, and it sold well for basically a couple of decades until the iPod came out. And that kind of changed things. Sony attempted to adapt to that, tried out some different ways to consume music at home. But that was one of those products, the iPod being the next one, that also changed everything when it comes to listening to music on your own. It made it smaller, made it more compact, can bring more songs with you. We all know how that played out. But that's something that I think it's important. It's neat to acknowledge that that was 40 years ago that the Walkman actually came out, 40th anniversary. So Sony released that video kind of celebrating it. You can take a look at that and let us know what you think. It's interesting history, interesting piece of electronics history and consumer technology history. Sony Walkman, 40 years old. All right. It's also another anniversary of sorts, and since we're just going to do that today, we're going to talk about some anniversaries. So coming up, it is going to be the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 landing. That's not today, but today is kind of a big moment when it comes to that, and that is the opening up of a new museum that actually celebrates what that was like. And they restored the original mission control from the 1969 moon landing, and it's now open today as a museum that you can go visit in Houston. So the Johnson Space Center control room that oversaw the historic landing played, a central role in the early years of the space race in general. And you take a look at that. That's some of the actual original pictures, and the restored version is almost exactly the same. They painstakingly recreated this. So part of an interesting piece of history with that Johnson Space Center control room is that it was actually pretty much dismantled in 1992 when NASA moved to a different control room. They built a new one, kind of went into disrepair, and was a little bit of a forgotten piece of history there for a little bit until everyone started realizing, like, okay, this is actually pretty important. We need to actually preserve this. This is a monument in the history of space, of space exploration. This is that control room where they were able to land, 2 people walked on the moon based out of this control room. So on July 1st, 2019, that's today, the museum opened up. So it was funded by the city of Webster as well as a Kickstarter campaign to help bring it back. So what they did is they actually went down and they tried to find as much original pieces as they could. And if they couldn't, they wanted every little piece of detail to be there. They said that they were able to get period authentic coat racks, chairs, even the control room's coffee machine is the original coffee machine. You can see the original flight control manuals. They've got maps, headsets, pens, coffee cups, and of course, since it was the time, if you watched any videos back then, ashtrays, because they were all smoking in there, and that's also part of it. You look back at that like 50 years ago. Can you imagine everybody smoking in like a very, very multi hundreds of millions of dollars control room? No, probably not going to happen, but back then they did. So they have even some of the ashtrays back there to showcase that. And again, it's coming up here for that 50-year anniversary, where we're going to be, coming back to that and just celebrating that piece of history. Now, there is the plan to go back to the moon. I believe it's 2024 is what the plan is right now. That's been a little bit fluid on when those dates are going to happen. But that's a really cool piece of history right there that you can go check out. That's the original Mission Control Center for the Apollo 11 moon landing and how it's been restored. You can go in there. Pretty authentic, and actually people, I guess you can sit down at some of the desks from what I understand. There's buttons you can press, and they have some of the original things on the screen. So pretty cool. Nice to preserve that. Very important, especially in this era of space tourism and space commercialism and where we're going, to acknowledge where we've been. All right. One final thing here that I want to bring up in this little section of news, and we're talking about space, so I'm going to continue on with that. And then we've got an interview with Sabrina Phillip coming up, talking about her really amazing career and some of the different advice that we can get from that, different tips. Before that, let's talk about Starlink, which is, of course, owned by SpaceX. In case you don't know, Starlink is one of SpaceX's other companies, I guess probably overall owned by Elon Musk. But this is one of the efforts to create a network of satellite internet, of satellites, of internet satellite. There we go. Satellite internet. There we go. That's what I was going for. All right. So a network. Right now, the goal is to eventually have 12,000 different satellites up encircling the globe, to have high-speed broadband internet being broadcast to anywhere on Earth. That's really the goal, which is an important goal. And they took the first step for this, Starlink did, with 60 satellites that went up, and that was just a couple of months ago. Actually, in May is when that went up. So 60 of them to start it off. However, they've already lost control of 3 of them. Now, overall, that percentage, I guess, isn't that unexpected. And originally I was like, well, you lost control of 3 of them to start off with. That's not really a good sign if you're going to 13,000, extrapolating from 60. But the one thing that was key with these satellites is not to leave a ton of debris up there. And that's a big worry for all of us. Space debris is certainly a concern for a lot of people. So these 3 are all designed, I guess all of these satellites are designed, if they were to lose control, that eventually they're going to come back into the atmosphere, they'll burn up in the atmosphere, and they will not be there for the long term for space debris that we've got to avoid and try to work around for years to come. It'll take a couple of years, but it's on a trajectory to where these ones that they lost control of will all fall in. And it's the same with all of their satellites, that eventually they'll fall into the atmosphere and burn up safely in there. So something of concern, but that's something we've been making some headlines today, talking about where we're at with that and what's going on with the Starlink satellite internet system. And there's other companies that are trying to do it as well. You have OneWeb, you have Amazon, who has some goals towards this. You have Google, lots of companies working on this, but certainly something to think about when it comes to Starlink. Just want to bring you up to date on that information as it circulates today. All right, here is what's going to happen next. We're going to take a quick break. We're broadcasting live across all these different platforms, and I want to thank everybody who's joining us, letting us know what you want to talk about. Drop in your comments, your questions as we go through the show. We've got Sabrina Phillip who's going to be joining us here after the break, so stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And welcome back to Digital Trends Live, our daily show here from Digital Trends, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions about all kinds of technology that can affect your life and different interesting facts that we like to bring you here with this show. So again, thanks everybody for joining us. Drop in your comments and questions as we go through the show. And right now, we are joined by somebody who has certainly made an incredible business for herself and very successful. Lots of advice that we can take from this. There's lots of things we're going to cover, including the fact that it was World Social Media Day yesterday. We've got lots to talk about, so let's bring her on right now. It is Sabrina Phillip. Hello, Sabrina.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. And I kind of alluded to the fact that your story is really kind of incredible, how you've grown to where you are right now. But to give everybody a bit of a background, can you tell us about some of these origins, maybe going to Bali with $800 and then how you've grown this into where you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm joining us, as you mentioned, from Bali, Indonesia. So about 15 hours into the future from Pacific time. And I actually moved here 3 years ago. At the time, I had a one-way plane ticket. I had just finished college and about $800 to my name. So my first job was writing Instagram captions for $12 an hour and pinning things to people's accounts. And that eventually turned into a full-scale social media agency and eventually a business consulting company that has generated over $1 million in revenue and has served hundreds and thousands of clients at this point.
So, getting the idea to just go there with $800, like what was your inspiration for making that move to begin with? And then we'll get into definitely all of your accomplishments.
I'll be honest, I actually lied to my parents about how much money I had. I just knew that I needed to get out of the United States. I think that like so many people, when we finish college, we kind of have this belief that there's 2 paths in front of us. Either we go get another degree or we go get a job. And I just wasn't prepared to decide what it was that I wanted to commit the rest of my life to. So for me, I thought I would go to Bali and then eventually go to Cambodia and Thailand and travel the world. But I actually never left. And 3 years later, I'm still here.
So talking about social media and just how much it's clearly empowered you with your life, but it can empower a lot of businesses. And I wanted to just kind of walk through this for people out there. I guess first off, it was World Social Media Day yesterday. Maybe you can just kind of give us a little bit of explanation on what that means and what that actually entailed. And then let's go into talking about how social media can affect businesses.
Absolutely. So World Social Media Day is a holiday that was created by Mashable in 2010, and it's celebrated every year on June 30th. And I think it's a really important time for us to come together as a society and talk about how our lives are being affected by social media. The impact that Facebook and Instagram and all of these platforms have on our daily lives is definitely far more reaching now than it was 10 years ago. And I think that when social media platforms keep, again, coming more and more into our daily lives, we need to be talking about how these platforms are affecting our politics, our purchasing decisions. And that is why it's something that for businesses is so powerful, because we know that more than half of consumers are turning to social media to make purchasing decisions. And this number is only going to go up and up as these younger generations are coming into the marketplace, because they are pretty much born with cell phones in their hands at this point.
What kinds of, maybe just a little bit of advice, and I know clearly that you're a consulting firm, you've got a lot of advice, but maybe just some basic tips that somebody could have out there if they're trying to grow their business through social media?
Definitely. So social media is something that has become more and more authentic over the last 10 years. When we look at, Social Media Day 10 years ago, people are really craving, not just from social media, but culturally and politically, to see people that look like them. So if you ever felt that you could not get into social media because you were not white or thin or beautiful or very young, that is not the case anymore. More and more people are craving authenticity. So that means it's time to put down the filters and really start sharing powerful content that is going to be connecting with people. So first things first, I would say go ahead and build a community around authentic content and who you really are, because you're going to attract people to you. Influencers do not just look one way anymore. And we see this because companies are shifting their dollars away from these big macro influencers and toward micro influencers. They are looking for smaller, more niche down communities. The other thing that I would go ahead and say is really make sure that you understand the importance of context. So virality is this issue, or this idea rather, that we talk about a lot. How can I make something go viral? And that usually has to do with context, which is what is going on right now? How does this relate to something? So for example, when you are creating a post talking about social media, bring in the context of Social Media Day. If you can find a way to merge what you're talking about with Beyonce releasing her homecoming video on Netflix, these are the ways where you can capture what's going on in the moment and really speak to pop culture. That, I think, if you can have that merge, it's going to be really powerful for people.
That's very, very fascinating. A lot of insight right there about what to think about when you're sharing things. And I like that idea that, it's more open to everybody. Like, people should not be afraid that, oh, well, I can't do it because I'm not this person. That's not how it is. People want that authentic side of it. When you talk about, with social media, I think one of the other things that always comes up is, what are the boundaries? Like, how much, how much should we be on social media? What's a healthy boundary? What's too much? Or how do you actually set that for yourself? I mean, I'm curious for you in particular, just because this is your business. Do you have like a boundary that you set, or how does that work?
I actually feel like the least addicted person to social media. And I think part of that is because I'm in Bali. So I'm 12 hours ahead of everyone else. So I just can't receive notifications all day and all night long the way other people would. So definitely make sure that you put your cell phone away when you're sleeping. Do not have it when you are eating meals with loved ones. I think the other thing just to keep in mind personally is that social media does not determine your worth. The reason why it's so toxic for so many young people is because they get their worth wrapped up in the number of likes that they get. I think we also need to be having larger conversations as an industry and a society and amongst governments of just how much these large corporations and tech companies can be coming into our personal and private lives. I think that is an entirely separate set of boundaries that needs to be discussed, because this is coming up a lot as all of these governments are forming large commissions, and they have even asked, in some cases, the Canadian Parliament asked Facebook to come forth, specifically the request to Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, and they refused. So I think that we're also going to be seeing larger conversations of social boundaries with these companies as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many different issues with that in particular, that going into Canada where they didn't show up, and what some of these different regulations are that are going to be coming down. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all shakes out. For you personally, let's talk about you. what's ahead for you when it comes to where you're growing your business? What's on the horizon for you? Where do you anticipate it going?
Well, after 3 years in Bali, I'm officially packing up shop. So I'm selling everything. So I'm kind of in the same spot, and I'm getting ready to travel the world again. So I will be going to Canada first for a few weeks and then traveling Europe for a bit of a time, then going to Mexico. So a little bit of everywhere, nowhere. I can't say exactly where I'm moving just because it's the whole world. So that's really exciting. And then for our business, we do have a women's business conference coming up for the first time that we're going to be hosting in Florida this fall for 500 female entrepreneurs, which we're really excited about. So really investing more and more in in-person connection and really powerful coaching programs, because our goal is to help more and more women make money online and empower them through entrepreneurship.
That is great. And so when is that? That's in Florida this fall?
Yes, that'll be November 8th through 10th in Orlando, and it's called the Intentional Entrepreneur Live.
Fantastic. Well, and for anybody who wants to follow you or get involved with your company, what's the best way for them to follow you on social media?
Instagram is my personal favorite platform, so you can go ahead and follow me at Sabrina M. Phillip.
Nice. Well, Sabrina, thank you very much for joining us today. To talk about your experience, very inspiring, what you've been able to do. Have fun on your travels. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun as you're packing up shop. Hopefully you get everything sold. And thank you very much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that is a great story right there. So somebody who just went out and just did it themselves, and something inspiring, I think, for all of us in learning about how we can utilize and harness social media for whatever you want to accomplish, particularly in business, but also in your personal life, and not to worry about it. Lots to talk about here on Digital Trends Live, a lot that we've covered today. Going back through the show, just who we've talked to from the beginning. We had Chris DeGraw in here talking about the news. We had a little bit about what's going on with Huawei and part of that ban being partially lifted. How does it affect you? Follow along at digitaltrends.com. We'll let you know right there. Christian Nascimento, talking about the future of smart office technology. He's the VP of Product Management for Comcast Business. Join the show. We had Julian Chokatu from our New York studio, who went and tested out T-Mobile's 5G network. Going to give us a little bit of a background on what kind of 5G they're using, some of the differences, and what he thought of it. Zohar Levy from the Cedo Corp, CEO, talking about the world's first fully automated and controlled indoor cannabis growing machine that Cedo has. And of course, Sabrina Phillip, very interesting story right there. And as usual here at Digital Trends, we have lots of interesting stories that we'd like to share with you. Coming up tomorrow on the show, Adam Kaslikowski, our automotive editor, will join us. We have Luke Dormel talking about the future of food. And are we going to be eating insects? Yes, Luke's going to talk about that. We'll have that here on the show. We have Kurt Heineken from Montage. We have Jason Yim from Trigger. And, of course, all the news that you can handle. We'll bring you up to date on the biggest stories. We broadcast live across all these different platforms because we want to make sure that we're there for you wherever you need us to be. And we enjoy joining you here, and we enjoy you joining us every weekday. It's so much fun talking to you. And thanks for being here. I'm Greg Nibbler. We'll be back tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.